Hi guys! As we receive many requests every day for new models and we strive at Panthera to improve the product lineup we offer you, it was about the time we went yellow. So we're super happy to present you today the new electric starter kit for the bike RM250 as well as the ATV, the Mighty Quadzilla LT500. We're going to present you today the installation of both of these kits. We're now going to run you through the very simple installation of the starter housing cover. First, we have to remove the original flywheel cover from the engine. Now, it's extremely important to clean up properly the gasket surface, remove any remaining gaskets, and even scotch bright a little bit any remainings of dirt, because the housing is going to have to be sealed properly with the new housing. This housing is now going to be running oil inside of it, so we need to make sure that the surface seals properly. The RM250 engine has vent oil at the bottom of the flywheel, inside of the flywheel bay, that normally drains if you have humidity or anything. But since we're going to be now running oil inside the housing, we're going to have to seal that small hole. So we recommend some simple RTV silicone, black silicone, just to fill up that hole and let it dry for a few hours, which we're not going to do right now because we have to do that video. But just seal it, let it dry properly, and then you can finish the installation of the housing and put oil inside of it. There we go. We're now going to be installing the starter flange and main gear on top of the flywheel. So we're going to be removing the original flywheel nut from the flywheel. If, in this case, this bike does not have a washer behind the nut, happens to be like that, make sure you remove the washer if there's one behind the nut, since the new bolting unit's not going to be needing it. The main starter flange and one-way clutch, all inside of this little unit with the main gear, is made to go on top of the flywheel with the two locator pin that goes inside of the flywheel holes. So just simply align them on top of the flywheel, just like that. There's a central bearing inside the gear that makes sure it just stays centered on the top of the one-way clutch and the bolting unit that we supply, which is a very simplified bolting unit that you use a half-inch torque wrench to secure. So I'm gonna go get the half-inch torque wrench and we can properly secure that assembly in place. So like all our 250 models, the bolting unit is gonna be torqued at 40 foot-pound. We supply you with a tool made to hold the gear and use the locking of the one-way to be able to torque the bolting unit. So simply slide the tool on top of it, use your torque wrench at 40 foot-pound, there we go, simply like that. Make sure the one-way still spins and lock in the other direction. And we're now ready to install the starter housing. We're now ready to install the Panthera starter housing in place with the supply gasket. So very simple installation. Make sure the gasket aligns. The starter housing has a central bearing that aligns on the flywheel bolting unit. So it slides right and center the whole assembly, so just make sure it slides and goes right up to the gasket surface. Cool. So we're going to be torquing the 4 bolts of the starter housing to 110 inch-pound, a little more than normal, but just make sure that it seals properly. The starter housing has a vent fitting at the back of it to run a rubber hose to a high point. On the motorcycle, we're not going to be running it here, you understand the point, but just remember to put that rubber hose we're supplying you and run it to a high point on the bike. It's just to vent the cover while it heats up and cools down. Installation is done of the housing. We're now going to be putting the 2 starter gears in place. Before we do that though, the housing, as I said, run oil inside of it. So we're going to be putting 250 to 300 milliliters of ATF oil. It's our recommendation for the oiling, proper oiling of the one-way clutch, as well as the gears and the starter motor shaft. So let's put some oil in the housing now. There we go. All right, final step is to put the starter gear and starter cap on top of it. So it goes the top crown gear first, and then the second one. They need both to match to the main starter gear as well as to the top one. So it might not mesh each time, but if you just try playing and rotating it, you'll find a way to mesh both gear. There we go. It's in, all good. And then put the starter cap on top of it. Make sure the gasket's properly in place. We're supplying 4 button head and 6 button heads, so just put all 4. We also recommend to put a little bit of Loctite on these if you may want to make sure that during your ride they don't come loose or anything, and you would end up losing your gear cover. So that's good practice, and you're going to be torquing them at 90 inch-pound. Make sure everything stays properly in place. Right. Prior to the installation of the battery box, unfortunately the RM250 does not have a location where we can run the wire. So we have to do a slight modification to the plastic at the top of the airbox so we can run the wires. We're going to cut a little hole here just so there's a location for it. We can now run the wires and install the battery box on top of the air filter. We can now finally connect the electric motor. So what we recommend is to run the ground wire directly to the mounting bolts of the electric motor. That way we make sure that the ground is proper to the electric motor. You can run it underneath the electric motor here, just like that, and put it on the left bolt of the electric motor. Red wire goes to the positive terminal of the electric motor. You can take a 10mm wrench and just secure that one in place, and we're ready to roll. There we go!